it's really all about thinking in advance, because I know a lot of people think just because I have the gun in my pocket or in my car that somehow I'm going to just miraculously be able to protect myself. But if you don't think through those scenarios, it's going to be difficult when you come up to that situation to really know how to react.
We did a CCW one class last week, which is our first class above the basic to get the permit. And one of the things we teach them is how to draw. And these people were amazed. There really is a proper way to draw. There are certain things you should do, steps you should follow. Well, we never thought, hey, you just grab the gun in the holster, you know. No, here's two different draws. I do the martial arts draw. Scott, who you know, does law enforcement draw. A few less steps, a little bit simpler. But the thing is, bad guy 7 yards away, if he's got a knife or impact weapon, and you haven't practiced your draw until it's second nature, he is going to cut you or hit you before your gun ever comes out of the holster. Every time. Every time.
And it's not the first. You don't choose the time that the encounter is happening to start learning how to do it.
Oh, you can't. There's no way to.
We tell these people every day that they come into the store that when you go home tonight, and if you're planning on carrying this gun as a concealed carry weapon, I remember being a policeman and they tell me I can't even carry my gun on duty until I've drawn it out of my holster 100 times, so I would know I'm familiar with it. But we tell these folks, you need to go home, make sure the gun's unloaded, go in a quiet room and look in the mirror and see how which move, are you giving the body language out? Are you showing everybody what you're doing? Are you telegraphing it? But you need to practice it, because when you're out on the street, you're not going to have time to learn that when the situation arises.
Right, what we're going for here in our training is if you have ever driven a fast car or a motorcycle fast through traffic, you're not thinking shift, accelerate, brake, accelerate, shift. You're thinking brake lights and daylight. And you're avoiding the brake lights and you're going for the daylight. All the rest is second nature. All of the rest is muscle memory. Well, that's where you have to be properly prepared for a lethal force encounter. You don't have to think about draw. You don't have to think about sight picture. You don't have to think about trigger squeeze. You think about, do I have to shoot him right now?
And how many times?
And how many times?
Right.
And how many more times?
Right.
And how many more times?
And how many more people are out there?
Right, and how many more bad guys are out there?
Absolutely. So there's a whole lot to think about other than just
carrying the gun.
Exactly.
I mean, carrying the gun is the
that's the simplest part.
That's the simplest part. One gun, one holster. You know, but to get to where you can protect your family, you need to put a lot more into it.
Hey, let's shift gears just a little bit. We saw you have a Bianchi Cup a couple of weeks ago, and it was cold this year. It was kind of weird.
I let Bill Lothridge, cylinder and slide, use my propane heaters.
Right.
He was so grateful. He did a great trigger job on my 5.7.
There you go.
I've now got the best trigger job on a 5.7 ever.
But you brought out a new toy at the range, and you were showing everybody. And I have to tell you, when you were first telling me about it up in Jefferson City, I was a little confused. I was thinking you were talking about like monster truck type remote control.
That's how it started.
Yeah.
See, I mean, last October, I'm sitting at home, bad weather, watching a movie on aerial gunnery.
Okay.
Where one World War II airplane is flying, long cable, 900-foot cable, pulling a target that the other airplanes come shoot at. And I'm going, well, the problem with traditional training is the targets seldom move and never shoot back.
Right.
And I'm going, boy, if we could do something like that on the range. And I'm thinking, monster mini truck, remote control truck, little red wagon, turntable on the wagon, turn it from friend to foe. Well, that's what I'm thinking. So I tell Scott and I tell Mike. Mike's a remote control guy, works, as an instructor. And they talk to these two guys at DT Systems. Now, the folks at DT Systems, Mike Holloway and Troy Elliott, operate remote undersea vehicles for a living.
Right.
They are the knowledgeable guys on robotics and remote operation of vehicles. So these guys said, hey, we'll build you something, and we'll show it to you and then see what you think. Okay, fine. Well, about 4 months goes by, I don't hear from them. Finally, I hear from them. They say, you want to see it? I say, I'm dying to see it. Well, they came out with what you saw.
Right.
That is the prototype.
It's not a Tonka truck, that's for sure.
It weighs 250 pounds. And it will run you to ground.
And you call it the RAT.
And we call it the RAT. R-A-T, Robotic Attacking Target, because it is actually a target that can run around like a person does.
Yep.
Can turn sharper than a linebacker. Can close 7 yards as fast as somebody would on the Tudor drill. And it can turn from friend to foe in about a half-second flat. Well, traditional movers move on one line, in one plane, in one direction, at one constant speed. I've never seen a person move like that.
That's right.
Well, this can hide behind hostages. It can run at you. It can run away from you. Sure way to make it run at you, fire the slide lock.
There you go.
That means it is coming at you fast.
And we're trying to reload.
Now you have to do your reload from a slide lock while it's running right at you.
There you go.
Well, you saw the first generation.
Yes.
We're talking to a robotics firm that in later generations is going to do a couple things. One, it's going to have a spot at center of mass and where the head is, that after being hit in that, it'll fall down.
Okay.
Second, that it's going to have an arm holding an airsoft gun.
Cool.
That the instructor will be able to activate the arm, aim the airsoft gun, and shoot at the student.
Very
so
cool.
we'll both move and shoot back.
There you go. That's real life-like situation.
Well, what we saw, this was sort of an unintended consequence, like my buddy John Ross is
Sure. Yep.
I thought, just great training aid. It can move like a person. It can do all those things a person would do. But what it does is it can force the student's mind into this fight or flight mode. It can onset tunnel vision. We'd have two students standing facing at 7 yards in a Tula drill, which is a drill we talk about. Somebody runs at you from 7 yards, your gun's in the holster, you know what you're going to do. And on many times, it runs at them, and one of the two students doesn't draw. Their hand will feign toward the gun, and then they don't do anything. Well, that is freeze, okay? We've got a guy who's now a Marine lieutenant, one of my students. He'd been through 2 or 3 advanced classes at this point. We set up this drill called Be Sure of the Target and What's Beyond, where we have 11 no-shoot targets stationary, 2 shoot targets stationary, and then the rat can be shoot or no-shoot. We're telling them you have to have 2A hits. Well, that keeps them scanning, looking to see if they got 2A hits. Well, the rat's running back and forth for the no-shoot. Pretty soon he gets ignoring the rat. Rat runs off to the right into the range and runs at him at a 45-degree angle. He doesn't turn and shoot at it till he's as close as you and I are, about 5 feet away. At which point he turns, jumps back, shoots with both feet off the ground while he's trying to backpedal away from it. Again, tunnel vision. He did not see it till it was 5 feet away. And it makes a little noise. I mean, it's not like a silent rat.
Right.
It's like a little noisy rat.
And the key thing about it is that it lets you realize that the world is not going to stop for you. You're not going to shoot at a static target on 2 sticks. It's moving.
Right.
So, yeah, it's perfect training. You know what? I can't wait till we get our new Bridgeton store open. Let's get the rat down here and do a class.
Bring it for your grand opening.
And let's give one of our radio listeners a free ticket to come in and take the class for free. We'll work something out later.
Oh, absolutely. You've seen what we can do too with live fire on an outdoor range. We're limited to about 270 degrees of fire. But with airsoft on an indoor range, we can do a 360 scenario.
Exactly. Yeah, we'll do something. We'll set something up, and we'll get that in we'll have a raffle. One of our listeners will get a chance to come
rat
in.
ride.
Yeah, get a rat ride. There you go.
Well, lots of great real-life scenario situations here. You can learn more about Tim Oliver's RAT and the Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman seminar coming up at learntocarry.com, or you can actually get tickets to the Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman seminar at learntocarryevents.com, and we'll post both of those websites on our Facebook page, so you can check those out. Tim, thank you so much for taking time to stop by.
Hey, thanks for having me down. I love it every time. It gets better every time. And, well, I'll tell you, you guys who got an hour to talk to folks about guns, I'm envious.
Now we have an hour and a half. Yeah, we just grew by 50%.
Holy cow.
How about that? How about that? Hey, Tim, thank you for coming down. And we'll give you a holler, and we'll get back together and talk before Dave gets in town.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get him on the radio.
Yeah,
I mean, he might be listening right now.
That's cool. It'd be nice.
He's in town on weekends.
Well, we're a big fan of him, and we've known, I've known him since Bruce settled. Bruce was my defensive tactics instructor back in the academy, and I know him quite well. So I'd like to meet him and shake his hand and let him know that he's doing a great job out there.
Very cool.
Awesome.
Sounds great. August 27th in Columbia and October 15th in Branson. LearnToCarryEvents.com. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk to Bill Broussard with the National Shooting Sports Foundation. Again, thanks to Tim Oliver for joining us. We'll be right back. This is Target Talk on the Big 550 KTRS.